was the first piece ever notated in our universal language of music that we still use today. And that was by Guido di Arezzo. He was an 11th century monk, and this piece was Ut Quant Laxis. It's an ancient poem about John the Baptist. Now, during the time from 300 to the 1100s, music was still an oral tradition. So your teacher would sing it to you, you would sing it back, and you would memorize. And if you forgot something, you would have to start over and sing the whole thing again. Notation was not a universal language yet, but Guido di Arezzo made that possible in the 11th century. And I've already covered his story in another video, but I will just briefly review some of those details. Now, he developed the 4-line staff. And if you look at your hand, you always have the staff with you. And it wasn't until 1100 when the 5-line staff became in use. And that's what we still use today, the 5-line staff. Now, the notes were called neumes at this time, and the neumes were placed on those lines and in those spaces to represent pitch, higher or lower pitch. And this was the dominant system for over 900 years. And then what happened, as music was growing, the recorder dominated this medieval period of the flute, and it was most commonly played in dance and court music in France and Italy. And the style of music, which they called ars nova, or new style, was the main secular style of writing. And the structure of music developed significantly during this time, from plain song, just like Ut Quant Laxis that I just played, into a more polyphonic, meaning more voices, and more complex rhythms. We also see a standard of notation developing, and the use of sharps and flats in music. And those church modes that I mentioned in an earlier video were also the standard for the plain song and chant of the church. And they were the Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, and the Mixolydian for those chants. Now, I want to play another piece that comes from the 12th century. And this is from a woman composer named Hildegard de Bingen. And she was working in Germany. She was a nun in Germany. And this is one of her beautiful antiphons called Caritas Abundatis. And it's about an antiphon for divine love. Continue, but that was the style of singing, and these melismatic lines would go on and on. The voices would all sing in unison, so it was monophonic. And then, as the church was developing, we get into the Renaissance. And this takes up the time period of the 1400s to the 1600s. And this was a time of our recorder consorts. So consorts of instruments, different sizes that would play simple melodic dance music. And we have a piece that comes, two pieces that I'd like to play that come from that period of music. And one is by Machaut from the 14th century, and it's a chanson, and it's a little tricky, so I'm going to give it a try here. And you can hear those rhythms, and if you can imagine a drum or a tambourine or other instruments together, maybe a lute or guitar. That was from the 14th century, excuse me. And then finally, we're going to end our time in the Renaissance with a piece called Gaudete. Gaudete is a Latin word that means rejoice. And this would have been a piece that would have been sung, but I'm going to play it on the recorder. Gaudete, Christus es natus ex Maria Virgine gaudete. And that translation is, rejoice, Christ is born of the Virgin Mary, rejoice. And so, as we leave this medieval and Renaissance time, that spirit of humanity that we brought from our ancient world of the flute is really beginning to develop, and we will be in our golden age of the flute, the Baroque, and we will discover new pieces and a period of significant changes.